After extensively exploring the behemoth structure of Kempton Park Hospital in part 1, 2 and 3 of this mini-series, it was now time to venture into the less explored outer sections of this facility. Up to now, we have come face to face with the dark paranormal encounters that haunt the halls and passages of this hospital. Now all that remained was to find out if these paranormal encounters also spilled over into the outer sections made up of the nurses' residence, the on-site children's daycare, and the crematorium and boiler-room. With a much less intense atmosphere in the outer sections, it also gave us time to think about what we have discovered versus the facts that we managed to dig up on the sudden abandonment of Kempton Park Hospital close to 3 decades ago on 26 December 1996. Clearly, we were not out of the woods yet, and one thing is certain: sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. So join us as we tread our final steps in one of the most haunted locations in South Africa, to come to our conclusion as we discuss the urban myths, our personal experiences, and the actual facts surrounding the now iconic and infamous abandoned Kempton Park Haunted Hospital. Walking through the thick brush and tall grass, we approach what was once the on-site children's daycare. Here, the medical staff could leave their children in the care of the daycare center, while they tended to the patients within the hospital. Paintings of cartoon characters on the glass windows are some of the last clues that hint at what this place used to be. If you really try hard, you can almost imagine the laughter of children as they played in this building. But a few steps in, you are reminded that this place was not spared the destruction set in motion on 26 December 1996, as also here, medical and other records are scattered everywhere. Most disturbing of all is what looks like an old pink murder docket containing the names of the suspects awaiting bail. Passage lined with doors with signs stating babies, meaning that this place might also have been visited by the pretend pediatrician known as Dr. Death, that we briefly discussed in part 2 of this mini-series. Now, only a deafening silence remains, where once children laughed and played. Walking down the asphalt driveway on the side of the massive hospital compound, a tall smokestack greets us in the distance. This is the building containing the boilers, as well as a single oven of the crematorium. Walking up the steep stairway gives a good perspective of the size of this building. The brick building containing massive boilers that once formed part of the critical infrastructure of Kempton Park Hospital is now home to hundreds of pigeons. A plaque on the side of the one boiler dates it to 1974. The hospital officially opened in 1978, which means that the boiler must have been manufactured and installed within the 4 years prior to the official opening date. The structure looks to be sound. Even the pipes and valves are still intact. Surprisingly, very little seems to have been looted or gutted over the last 30 years. Sending the drone up, the smokestack stands roughly 40 meters tall. We then proceed into the room containing a single cremation oven. We assume that this oven was mainly utilized for the cremation of amputated body parts and other medical waste. It might have been used for the cremation of deceased patients. However, it is highly unlikely, since such cremations are normally done by funeral directors and undertakers, and usually not at medical facilities. This is just our assumption, however. Finally, we enter the nurse's residence. Even here, the atmosphere is heavy and uncomfortable. There are rumors of shadow apparitions on certain floors, but even if we don't come across such paranormal encounters, just the mere thought of it is downright chilling. The kitchen with what remains of the 70s style orange cupboards. The instructions for the water urn still stuck on the wall. Then we enter the main hall. Here, the resident medical faculty held religious services, were entertained on special occasions, gathered for general meetings or theoretical training, and so forth. Being a state-owned facility, this was also a training hospital, and this meant that nurses and future doctors lived on premises. As we walk around the back, we can get some idea of what these living quarters look like, with some of the ground floor units exiting into what must have been beautiful gardens. Between 1978 and 1996, this was a world-class facility where medical students received state-of-the-art training, shaping their careers in the medical field for years to come. The nurses' residence goes up 7 floors, same as the hospital. Today, all that remains are mostly empty passages and rooms, with only small clues here and there of what a proud institution this once was. some rooms you can still find the desks and closets that were once utilized by the medical staff responsible for the patients of Kempton Park Hospital. In our research of the so-called abandonment of Kempton Park Hospital, we were able to find urban myths, speculations, and clear facts. One clear fact is that this hospital was built in the heart of a thriving middle-class community in an era of segregation. This era came to an end in the early 90s, and a change of government would also mean the end of Kempton Park Hospital, as state medical funding were cut off from this facility to fund hospitals closer to the poorer and previously disadvantaged communities. Remaining staff finally walked out on 26 December 1996. The horrendous case of Andre Esterhazy, the pretend pediatrician, most certainly contributed to the abandonment of this hospital. It is never good to have cases such as his linked to any world-class medical facility. However, this case was in no way the sole reason for the abandonment of this hospital. Some speculate that patients were left helpless without any prior warning. However, we were unable to find any factual records of this. But with corrupt governments, such cases are always covered up, and this will always remain an unproven speculation. But as they say, where there is smoke, is it haunted? Well, it is impossible to prove the urban myths and hauntings prior to the abandonment of this facility. However, what we captured on film and experienced ourselves leaves no question in our minds that Kempton Park Hospital is certainly one of the most haunted places in South Africa. Whether you believe it or not is simply up to you. The truth is that in this place, facts and myths are intertwined, and definitely seems that the truth is sometimes stranger than fiction. On a personal level, exploring these abandoned places makes you question your own life, the adventures and trials that we all go through, the memories that we make that also seem to fade away with time, as does these old buildings. We all go through good times and yet are also haunted by the bad. Walking into Kempton Park Hospital, I struggled with internal battles of my own. These dark hallways, although haunted, gave me courage to face my own demons head on. And as I walked out of Kempton Park Hospital, a piece of me stayed behind. In some sense, this hospital helped heal one more patient, even years after its abandonment. I had faced a deep personal decision that I had to make, and walked out into the sunlight with a load lifted off my shoulders.